Been a clip going viral of Mizkif reacting to the read of the court transcripts.
And although she defines it as sexual assault, a reasonable viewer would unquestionably understand that the term is her own description of what happened to her. The viewer is not left to guess as to nature of the assault based solely on the term sexual assault. Yes, this is what she wrote. This is the person that says I went live with 60,000 viewers and told everyone I sexually assaulted her and made everyone stop talking to me for a fucking year. This is the person that did all this stuff, chat. Fuck my life. I got called a fucking rapist for is this shit. She literally says it was her emotional definition, not the definition of sexual assault. I have to fucking live with this shit. It's just like, what the fuck did I do? It just sucks, chat. It just fucking sucks. It kills me.
Okay, I don't want to sound insensitive there, but it feels like fake crying.
But it's been 4.5 months. I don't have a voice. Everyone took that voice from me. Everyone did. Everyone took that voice. I don't have a voice. This is not going any. No one cares. Chat. I'm so fucked up. I don't know what to do.
I mean, I think like he has no goodwill left because like he's very annoying in the way he acts, which is like playing on it. Like Tectone can say or do worse shit, but he's still way more charismatic than Mizkif, which is really playing against Mizkif. But I do want to have some objective opinions on the transcript. So now people are really pushing back against Emiru, saying she's changing the definition of essay due to her like emotional. They're saying she's backtracking on the essay allegations, and she called it like her emotional truth or something. And other people are like, no, she didn't backtrack. She even provided a full transcript of the story on her stream. And basically, right now they're at the part of the lawsuit where it's just a motion to dismiss. It's like a defamation lawsuit against her, Asmongold, and Mythic and OTK, I believe.
Go after me all you want. I have nothing to lose. Similarly, the first alleged complaint alleges that Emiru's statements regarding Mizkif's controlling and toxic behavior were defamatory. Bro, how many people in this audience thinks Mizkif have a chance? Like, do you think he's going to win this lawsuit? Do you think like he's going to get justice? Do you think it's not going to get dismissed? Okay. She stated he was controlling over her clothes and friends when she streamed. And guess what? Guess what? Guess what? He admitted in his own words to telling her how to dress, who to speak to, what to speak about, and who to contact. He says, I know I was controlling and I should have just ended the end relationship, but I was so confused as a person. The last 9 months of this relationship, things got extremely effing toxic. Mizkif also admits in his live stream that his statements regarding
like, so at the end of the day, the lawsuit is not about essay, it's about defamation. And according to Henry, or what I've watched of his video so far, Henry really seems to think that he thinks Emiru's lawyers are good, like they're putting up a good defense, and he's like admitted on stream for a bunch of the defamation points so far.
His driving habits were true. She said that he would drive like 150 miles an hour, and one time said, now we're both going to not be alive anymore, threatening to delete us both. What does he say on live stream? I drive fast literally everywhere. I drive fast all the time. I don't remember the exact speed I got up to, but we were definitely flying.
He
now,
did
he
say
doesn't
that.
say anything about deleting everybody themselves, but he definitely confirmed driving fast. So is it more likely than not that while he was driving fast, he stated that he was going to, statements are nearly identical to the daughter's statements in the Benson case. Emiru expressing her heartfelt emotional journey over several years with an admittedly toxic man. There go that man thing again. Her story is admirable, and in telling it, she is stating her emotional truth, not some statement of decisive facts. Gosh. Oof. So
her lawyers are really glazing her in there.
Is she walking back the essay claims? She's like, oh no, that's my emotional truth. That's not a statement of facts.
Yeah, her lawyers, I guess, don't want, like, their defense is like, it's not to be taken literally.
My emotional truth. Bro, the damage is done, dog. Emotional truth, statement of fact. This is game over on Mizkif. Interestingly, that Benson case also directly dealt with the question of whether accusing someone of essay constitutes defamation. There, the daughter used the term S.A. without explaining exactly what occurred between her and the stepfather. Unlike the First Amendment complaint, there, the court had to benefit of the daughter's entire statement to review. She harping on that. The court held because the Texas Penal Code defines criminal offenses as S.A., and Guerrero published a statement that Chris had S.A'd her without further explanation. The words Guerrero used were reasonably capable of a defamatory meaning, an example that Chris had committed a criminal offense of S.A. against her. For purposes of the TCPA, this was sufficient for the father's claim to survive the initial challenge by the daughter. Mizkif will certainly focus on Emiru's use of the term S.A., which she should. I mean, I would do the same, and argue that Emiru's statements are necessarily defamatory because they include the same term. However, in comparison to Benson here, Emiru described in detail the exact nature of Mizkif's assault against her. Bizarrely, this is the one sentence that Mizkif actually quotes in the First Amendment complaint. He started kissing me in the face. I let him do it. And then he suddenly tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hands down my pants. I screamed. And when I screamed, he jumped off me like a cat. Okay? Taking the whole context of Emiru's statement into account, as the court is required to do, the situation is very different than the stepfather and Benson. Emiru describes exactly what happened to her, and although she defines it as S.A., a reasonable viewer would unquestionably understand that the term is her own description of what happened to her. I don't know about this.
Damn lawyers.
If someone comes out and say I was S.A. and then like later down the line say he kissed me and finger popped me and then I yelped and he got off me, I don't know. Maybe. It's still the term S.A. The viewer is not left to guess as to the nature of the assault based solely on the term S.A., like in Benson's case, which focused on the fact that the daughter did not actually describe the alleged assault.
Okay, so they're making they pulled up this other lawsuit that was similar and like a defamation lawsuit where the term SA was used, but where the daughter didn't describe the SA allegations, and her lawyers are making like this point that this is different because she did describe the facts, so the viewer is left to the viewer's interpretation, which I suppose this can be debatable. That is probably the weakest point of her entire lawsuit. We're gonna watch the Legal Mindset Fast Fact after.
Okay, it might not fly. The judge would determine it. Just like in Benson, Emiru's statements are not actionable as defamation because they show her personal viewpoint, her own emotional truth, and not purported fact. The court should dismiss the First Amendment complaint as to Mizkif. Man, that emotional truth thing.
How does it work though? Like, let's say the court finds that 4 out of 5 of the defamation claims hold weight, but one of them, like the SA, doesn't. Do they proceed, or is the whole thing thrown away?
Is a bish. But at the same time, this is federal court. TCPA don't apply. So you have that element. Emiru's claim was emotional, might not fly because she prefaced the whole thing by describing it as an essay that really couldn't be described as anything as a statement of fact. We're going to find out. The amended complaint must be, is Emiru going to win?
But I thought LM said once that like, and I didn't know this, but if somebody kisses you without your consent, that could be defined as SA. I didn't know this was a federal case. I don't know if it means it's automatically a criminal case or if it's a civil one either.
Dismissed.
Thank you, Ryder.
Is her emotional truth argument regarding SA going to hold weight? Why didn't she not address the stalking claim in her response? And where is the...
Wait, the stalking claims were way stronger and she would have had witness and evidence for it. Why wouldn't she address
restraining order that she was planning on respond, or that she said she was in the process of filing? You have those questions. That she was planning on respond, or that she said she was in the process of filing. You have those questions. But as far as Mizkif having a slam dunk defamation case, I just don't see it. But he would if they throw out that emotional truth. If the emotional truth wins, it's game over for the defamation case for Mizkif. If the emotional argument is tossed aside, then Mizkif has a case. So I think his whole case against Emiru is going to bank on whether the judge accepts her live stream as her emotional truth or as a statement of fact used to destroy Mizkif.
Okay. The Texas Citizens Participation Act. Oh, that's the TCPA, also known as the Texas Anti-slapp. What does it do? Also, that's what he means, because apparently Mizkif bypassed that and is doing the lawsuit in another state that's not Texas. Oh, there's another clip from Mizkif where he shows more SS. Apparently, I haven't seen it though.
Why are we dating after all? Why are we dating after all that? And you're asking me on January 22nd, is your phone dead? Merp. And you're trying to call me. Hi, call. Then we talk. Mine picked up on the one winning. Interesting. Why would you do that if you wanted it on my... Here's you sending fucking videos of your cat.
You remember the time I wanted to marry Mick?
I'll tell you what she's trying to say. She's saying that she wanted to break up, but she wasn't able to break up.
Right, and she's saying, okay, but I can finally get...
Yeah, after I moved out, like I said, I still kept in contact. I had hoped that somehow things would get better. He would change, beg me to come back. He would promise therapy and change. I want to change. I want to be better for Emmy or whatever. You know, there was a short period in October where we had broken up because, I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter now. And when that happened, I honestly felt relieved because I was like, okay, finally, it's like on his terms. So that means he'll be satisfied and he'll be able to say it, I was his choice, and he'll leave me alone.
Alone and be satisfied, and he'll be on his own terms. She wanted to break up so badly. Why is she messaging me all this kind of stuff and talking to me like this?
She says it at the end.
Where?
She said, I would try to push for it. It just felt like I couldn't like really separate, if that makes sense.
And then what I'm showing you is, how can she possibly say that?
But I love that his friend is like, no, but I'm explaining to you what she meant. And he's like, no. But hey, at least it means his friend is not a yes man. Okay.
When she's asking me where I'm at, what am I doing? Like, look at this. Like, Jeannie, hello? Do you not understand what I'm saying? She's literally saying, do you want to sleep together on December 30th, 2025?
That's good to show.
How are you saying, okay, finally, it's like on his terms. That means he'll be satisfied, and he'll be able to say it was his choice, and he'll leave me alone in October. But December 30th, we were dating again after this whole ordeal, and you're asking me if you want to sleep together.
She emotionally broke up with you.
Are you kidding me?
She emotionally broke up with you?
Okay, I'm going to bed. Oh, okay. I'm just getting ready. So, oh, okay, meaning she sounded kind of...
So, should he be doing all of this on stream, by the way? Like, I don't... Also, is that a photo of Pinky Chew on his stream? Is it like so Tectone can talk about him? He's using the strat that Hassan was supposed to use. Let's watch the fast fact from Legal Mindset. I think he's gonna explain what a motion to dismiss is in his video, which is what I wanted to learn about.
Emiru has filed her motion to dismiss in the case against Mizkif, which also involves Asmongold. We're going to get into all the parties today, particularly Emiru's defense and the little chink in her armor, which might mess up her motion to dismiss. Of course, this is the Legal Mindset we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. This is a Fast Facts video, the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. So in case you've been hiding under a rock, we've got the plaintiff here, Mizkif, who filed a defamation lawsuit against Asmongold, Emiru, OTK, and Mythic. And lately, there's been a clip trending around of him in a bit of an emotional state.
That's the clip we just watched.
And she waits 4.5 months to stall this out so no one cares anymore. And her response is that, like, are you kidding me? And no one cares. No one cares. Like, no one wants to listen. It's so unfair. They go up my throat for cheese clips and say I'm an abuser. And that's her response. Her response is literally that it's her emotional.
Okay, when I said that I enjoyed men tears because I'm a pervert, that's not what I meant. Mizkif doesn't count. I don't know. He's like the one dude that makes crying unappealing. I'm sorry.
Version of it. Are you kidding me?
So we're going to get into that today and what he's talking about and the little issues we have with Emiru's defense. Then we, of course, have Emiru over here, who's the defendant. And she seemed from the beginning pretty prepared for litigation, knowing that litigation was going to come.
I would not be surprised if he tries to sue me for the stream that I did today and for coming out about him. Not because he thinks that he would win, but for PR reasons, like a slap lawsuit. It'd be interesting if that happened, and I wouldn't be opposed to people finding out more of the truth and things that I didn't even talk about today, and what else he's been lying about. And I'm sure there's also plenty of things that even I don't know about.
So it seems like from the beginning, Emiru was prepared for a lawsuit, and part of a lawsuit is going through the steps, is going through the motion. So this is yet another part of the lawsuit that we have to get through. And of course, let's not forget Asmongold, who's part of this, and I'm going to reflect upon his defense in light of Emiru as we get into the facts here. So let's go with our opening statements. So Mizkif filed this defamation claim and other claims against OTK, Asmongold, Mythic, and Emiru. All evidence involves statements on Mizkif and Emiru's relationship. So it's all stuff that involves their relationship and how their relationship went down. Many comments and admissions were made by Mizkif himself, although some of the stuff and evidence has been submitted are Emiru's comments, and obviously her initial statement is part of the evidence. But both now procedurally, Asmongold and Emiru have filed motions to dismiss. And it's very important to get into what that exactly means. So a motion
Papers.
to dismiss, and you can see right here the filing that was just filed by Emiru.
Filing is
that
the
is
word.
under the federal rules because Mizkif perhaps wisely got this in a federal court to avoid some procedural Texas law, which would make his claim even more difficult, almost impossible. You've got the
Oh, so that's the and like the anti-slapp law that we mentioned earlier, the Texas anti-slapp law.
Federal Rule 12b-6 for failure to state a claim. This is a pre-trial motion, so it's before you get all witnesses called, it's before depositions, it's before a lot of the discovery of the
Oh, it's all separate, filed separately. Okay.
actual case itself, and it only examines the legal sufficiency of the plaintiff Mizkif's claims. The one thing is, when you're looking at this and looking at a motion to dismiss, you do have to interpret all facts in favor of Mizkif. Now, of course, he has to specifically state those facts. Those have to be things that are backed up by evidence, by certain amount of evidence, and you also have to ignore legal conclusions or just statements of the elements. So if he's just going through there saying, well, these are the elements of the crime, and I think she did the elements of the crime, that's not enough. You've got to back that up by saying, okay, here are facts that support that, right? And then those facts can be interpreted in favor of Mizkif. And an important note here is Mizkif is trying to amend his complaint to add facts that the first version of his complaint didn't have. And both of them, Asmongold and Emiru, are trying to prevent that. Emiru goes into a little bit more detail with her comments on why that should be prevented. But Mizkif did not do a good job of including a lot of facts in his initial complaint, which is why it was absolutely so laugh-worthy. But there may be...
I don't understand why he went into this huge lawsuit suing so many people if they weren't properly ready. Because as he said, as Alem said at the beginning of the video, Emiru seemed ready for it.
An issue here, a very, very specific issue here with Emiru's motion to dismiss. So the issue is...
Although, even though she was ready, I thought her initial statement was approved by a lawyer, but they should have counseled her against saying the word essay if it meant that it could weaken her case later on.
Is in Texas, it's defamation per se to accuse someone of a crime or imputation.
Oh, that's why it's a slap lawsuit. They're just to bully them into silence and not go to court. I was talking about a relative that's a lawyer, and they say that actual like bad faith suing happens so often. It's actually sad. And the system isn't really kind to clients. For example, you could hire a lawyer, and you're set to go see the judge that day, but you don't know at what time. Your case could be delayed for like 6 hours, for example, and by the time you get to see the judge, then the judge is like, oh, actually we're out of time, so I'm going to convene you again tomorrow. But the client still has to pay for the lawyer the entire time they're waiting, and the next day if the case is like move further. Every single email, every single minute on the phone, the lawyer is charging for it. It's so expensive and sad. Like it sucks that the system is made like that. And sometimes it can take 2 years for a case to go to court. I get it, lawyers gotta eat too, and they're also, if they work in the lawyer's like cabinet or office, they are really pressured to bill in their hours. But man, if you get sued by somebody that's richer than you and you don't have a lot of resources, it is rough. Like they often say that it's called a justice system, but it's not always fair, right? And even if you sue somebody and you end up winning, even if you've been done wrong, if the person doesn't have the money to pay you back, you're also screwed.
Of serious sexual misconduct. And A, right, you see it right there, is a felony which falls under both categories. So it's both a crime and an imputation of serious sexual misconduct. So both of those things are defamation per se. So if you have that information out there, you would interpret that, okay, that's defamatory. And of course, just for those that don't know, the crime of SA generally requires some sort of physical contact, right?
Okay. In Texas, it's defamation per se to accuse someone of crime or imputation of serious sexual misconduct. So sexual SA falls under both category because it's a felony, it's a crime, and it's an imputation of a serious sexual misconduct.
So that's something that's going to be required. And as of yet, we do not have any injunction or criminal complaint against Mizkif that's been filed for SA. But which brings us to the problem. The problem is looking at Emiru's statements in the transcript, she used the language of SA at least 3 times during her main speech, which you can go through. And these are timestamps from the transcript, which was submitted to the court. We can read that today. Today, I'm finally going to be opening up about the psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, sexual assault, and threats of blackmail that Mizkif has done towards me and some of these issues which are ongoing. That's number 1. Number 2, she opens up by saying, but because of the past incidents during like other fights and times I would try to separate myself from him, past incidents during those times of him manipulating me into staying close with him and giving him more chances, sexually assaulting me, the abuse, and just generally not being a very nice person. And then last but not least,
I feel like I'm hearing something. I'm sorry.
I'm so grateful for how things are now. It was very difficult, but I'm very proud of myself for making the choices that I did to end up where I am now. And yeah, that's my story of dealing with psychological and domestic abuse, sexual assault, stalking, and being threatened on if you know I ever talked about it. So there you go. You see the instances of her. And this was definitely something that Emiru's lawyers knew that Mizkif was going to bring up because of that law, because of the defamation per se. And you do have this statement here. So this statement here seems to be the thing we have in the record that would go towards that, or towards her interpretation of that, which is the statement, we cuddled for about 30 minutes and started to kiss. She said that she was okay with this on her stream, and I started to advance to the next stage because I thought that's what she wanted. She yelped and I immediately sprung up and was scared if I did anything wrong or did something or did wrong in general. I got scared and left the house. I apologize if that made Emmy uncomfortable for me not saying sorry, and I wish I had said sorry back then. So that was the incident which perhaps...
So he's saying it's like a miscommunication.
She was interpreting that. It's the one we have from the record. Of course, this is Mizkif's own statement. Now, Emiru's defense here, and this is the position she filed in this recent filing, is that under Texas law, even a verifiably false statement is not defamation if the context reveals the statement was a reflection of an opinion, not a statement of fact. So they're trying to lean on the fact of saying, hey, this was more of an opinion than a statement of fact. Here, within the context of the entire 90-minute live stream, it is clear that Emiru was telling her own emotional truth, explaining how their relationship came to an end and the struggles Emiru endured during their relationship. The live stream was spontaneous, unedited, unscripted, and underscoring that Emiru was not delivering a rehearsed narrative, but instead was speaking openly and vulnerably in the moment.
Oh, so it wasn't scripted. I thought it was a statement that she prepared with her lawyers. Wait, that also plays into this. Is that true? Was it unscripted?
Her truth as she experienced it. Like the daughter in Benson, a Texas case that they cite, Emiru's allegedly defamatory statements were either non-actionable elements of opinion or mere opinions masquerading as fact. And then they go on to point out, because they know this is coming, that Mizkif will focus on Emiru's use of the term SA, which I'm going to stop there and just say very clearly, if she had not used that term, we wouldn't even be here today. This wouldn't be an argument. There would be a full, strong case for that motion to dismiss. But using that terminology is really what got her in that position. So without a doubt, without use of those words, there would be no position for Mizkif to hang his hat on here based on his own statements of his behavior.
It was her testimony. Got it.
Let's continue. And argue that Emiru's statements are necessarily defamatory because they include the same term. However, in comparison to...
I mean, she had notes for sure during the stream. I don't know if the notes were like, you know, full-on statement or if they were just like little bullet points of whatever.
Benson, once again, a Texas case they're relying on. Emiru described in detail the exact nature of his assault against her. Bizarrely, this one sentence that Mizkif actually quotes in the first amended complaint he started kissing me in my face and I let him do it, and then suddenly he tried to climb on top of me and aggressively shoved his hand down my pants, and I screamed, and when I screamed he jumped off me like a cat. Taking the whole context of the statement into account, as the court is required to do, it's very different than the stepfather and Benson. Emiru describes exactly what happened to her, and although she defines it as SA, a reasonable viewer would unquestionably understand that that term is her own description of what happened to her. The viewer is not left to guess as to the nature of assault based solely on the term SA, which focused on the fact that daughter did not actually describe the alleged assault. Just like in Benson, Emiru's statements are not actionable as defamation because they show her personal viewpoint, i.e. her own emotional truth, and not purported fact. So that's their position as to that specific thing. And that is a very, very precarious position at the point of a motion to dismiss, where you're getting into, hey, does this meet the legal standard? And when you're taking those presumptions, once again, the presumptions in favor of Mizkif in terms of the factual allegations. Understanding, though, that Mizkif did a poor job in his complaint of including details and spotting out things, and that's what he's probably trying to clean up, him and his lawyer trying to clean up and add to make sure that they perhaps survive a motion to dismiss. But this is their defense. So what do we look at? Well, in defamation in general, we're going to look at this how a reasonable person would look at this. So overall in the context, right, the fact finder, right, the jury at a certain point.
Not sure how objective element can be what he has said in the past about Western women. I get it, but like, I think, you know, it depends. It's video per video. And so far this video, I feel like he's being objective. I haven't found a complaint in this video so far.
Right, earlier on, we can look for summary judgment and motion to dismiss. These are going to be the judge is going to be making the decisions, but you're going to be looking from a reasonable person's standard. And Emiru's problem, or fundamental problem, is that she repeated those words and also used them in the context of other crimes. And that would leave an implication that it was the criminal definition, right? And even if it wasn't, once again, we go back to Texas law, there's the imputation of serious sexual misconduct, which can also be defamation per se. However, here's the problem for Mizkif, and this is not just a clear thing where Mizkif is at the complete advantage. They're public figures, and the burden is on Mizkif to prove that Emiru did this with malice. So that is a higher standard. So essentially, Mizkif needs to prove that Emiru knew that this didn't fit the definition of SA and said it anyway. Said, I know he didn't do this. I knew what that was. I said it maliciously. And he's got to prove that by clear and convincing evidence, which is a higher bar at the civil level. Usually,
wait, that's gonna be so hard to prove. How are they gonna prove that?
It's preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower standard. It's got to meet a clear and convincing standard. That's very difficult for anybody to hit as a public figure, and going up to hit that clear and convincing standard. So Mizkif doesn't have an easy ride here. Now, Asmongold. Let's talk about Asmongold real quick. Does any of this change what Asmongold has, or his motion to dismiss? No, it does not alter that at all, because Asmongold Asmongold never used that term in any of his statements, so he doesn't have that same risk of defamation per se. Unlike Emiru, most of his content was a reaction, and mostly he was just going straight up on what Mizkif was saying. Now, Emiru was telling her original story. That was kind of the original telling of the story, so there's nothing to react to at the beginning of the story, obviously. So Asmon was in a different position and could be more careful. But I wouldn't change any expected outcome for Asmongold based on Emiru's defense. So let's go to the judgment. So in my judgment, Asmongold can still likely gain a dismissal. I think he has very good grounds for that, and nothing about Emiru's defense changes his chances from being good with a dismissal. However, Emiru is in a difficult position, a much more difficult position than Asmongold comparatively, because she repeatedly used that word. And the emotional truth argument, right? And mind you, this is not trial yet. This is not even summary judgment, which is a later stage. It's not the strongest argument for a motion to dismiss. So I could see Emiru losing a motion to dismiss and then proceeding with the trial. And in the clip we watched in the beginning of this video, you saw how Emiru appears prepared for trial, prepared to go to discovery, prepared to have things gone out, because she seems to think and seems to preposition that there's more evidence that's going to make Mizkif look bad that hasn't even come out yet. So that would be coming out as part of the
I'd love to see that.
discovery process and as part of a potential trial even. Now, Mizkif still has that super high bar as a public figure to show malice, but at this point, if you're weighing all the factors, let's say that Emiru was to lose a motion to dismiss, right, and she was not to be granted that motion to dismiss, well then obviously Emiru and Mizkif have a better chance of settling, right? That would be a point at which, if they both desired to, they could settle, and that would be more successful than Asmongold, who's likely to get out of this on a motion to dismiss. But once again, this case is not set anywhere. This also is set in Texas, which has that pretty high procedural, pretty high bars when it comes to defamation cases, and also the county might not be friendly to Mizkif. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now that still stand against Mizkif, but this might be a chink in this one step by Emiru. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below.
Interesting. But yeah, I think Asmund, Westworld Time streamers drama don't take sides right away. The thing is, like, Mizkif was is an acceptable target, so there's no one is siding with him really. The only people that are sympathizing with him now are the people that are like, oh, women always, ruin men's lives and stuff like that. But even prior to that, Mizkif is just, like, you saw it, like, even if he cried, like, usually when somebody cries, you sympathize with them, but him crying is, like, producing almost the opposite effect. It's almost like on the internet, you are judged more harshly for being cringe than for anything else. And in Mizkif's case, that is particularly true. Hey, you, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.